It is exactly 10 a.m. in Los Angeles at the moment, and it's time for our first Colourlab AI Ask Me Anything session. So, good morning, everybody. Hello. Welcome to our AMA stream. Good to see you, guys. Hello, hello. Say hi in the chat and where you guys from. Oh my God, we have a Michael from Montreal here, and Von Thomas I saw earlier. Very good to see you, Von. Very good to see you guys. Okay, so I want to just give you a little bit to what I have planned for today. Basically, what we got is a couple of things, just really based on questions that I get, when people use, Colourlab AI for the first time. It is, a brand new application, and certainly takes a little bit time, to learn. But actually, we find that the learning process is relatively quick. We're trying to make it easy. But in any case, I really wanted to cover today, some relatively basic stuff, but really important for anybody who's, starting to use Colourlab AI for the first time. I'm going to go through Premiere workflow setup. So what you need to do in order, to link Colourlab AI with Premiere. I'm also going to show Final Cut Pro workflow. They're slightly different, but they work in a relatively same way, but there are some differences. I want to show you that. Then I'm going to show you DaVinci workflow. So what happens when we actually, and how we can, make this whole link up with DaVinci much better. And then, as I'm going through all of this, I'm going to be answering a lot of things, which I call help. My matching is not working, because this is one of the, most common things we get is hey, I have this and it didn't match, what should I do? So, I have a lot of tricks, that can help you with that. As a part of that, we're going to learn, how to use camera profiles correctly. This is quite important. Then we're going to use about the auto color button, which is really useful, which really works, which is very reliable. Then we're going to learn about the exposure tool, and then also I'm going to show you how show looks works, why they made in certain way, and how SmartLUTs work as well, because they are also, very useful, And then the most important tool, for fixing all your grading and matching is actually the match versions tool. So, we're going to go through all of that. I'm going to be following chat as I go along. So, if there is anything, questions or anything like that as I go, I'm going to go look through the chat and hopefully be able to answer it for you guys. But, without further ado, let's start. Let's start with the first is the Premiere workflow. Okay. So, what we got here, right, is basically a Premiere timeline, right? And when you install Colourlab AI, we install all the elements that need to be installed for Premiere. You don't have to install anything extra, right? So everything has been installed for you. The only thing you need to do to activate this link, you have to go here to the menu window, okay? You click on that, and then you go to extensions, and then you select Colourlab AI extension. All right, so now, first time you open this extension, it's gonna look something like this, right? It's gonna sit on top of all your screen like that, like this, right? And I don't know why it's like that. But so what you wanna do is you don't wanna leave it like this. This is just, totally in a way. So you just click on this kind of, tab name here, and you just drag it, and you just position it somewhere that it's out of the way. So it's open, it means the tab is there, right? But it's not, blocking everything that you need to do. Okay, so this is the first thing you need to do. And that's pretty much everything, right? Okay, now, on Colourlab AI side, what you need to do, you should get these buttons here, which are called fetch from Premiere, fetch from Final Cut, fetch from Resolve. And if you don't have them, if you don't have them, what you do is you go to Colourlab Preferences, okay? And then in Preferences, you have a thing here called Toolbar, okay, the toolbar. And then here you can say always show Resolve, Push and Fetch, always show Final Cut, always show Premiere. So you can select and deselect those that you are using, that you want to link for your own application. And that way you know that you can configure this toolbar. By the way, there is one trick that I use here. So look, if I go now here on the view menu, you can also have this thing called tab bar, which kind of makes this black line here very big. So I personally always hide tab bar. And if you work on a 13-inch laptop, if you work on a small laptop and you need more space, more kind of, maybe things don't fit from the resolution, you can also go to the view menu and you can hide toolbar. So this toolbar here in the top is going to disappear. Then all of these functions, fetch, push, you have to use basically from this menu here. So everything is available, like fetch from Premiere, fetch from Resolve, it's all available here, right? So this is just in case if you find yourself, hey, I don't have enough resolution on my desktop or whatever, I need to really cram the interface, and then, it has to snap like this. All right. Then what you want to do is basically to fetch from Premiere, you just click on this button like this, right? So there is no XMLs, there is nothing, we basically just read your current timeline through something called an API. So this is like think about it as like just a programming language that allows us, to go behind the scenes and basically, understand or see what's on the timeline, and then basically that gives us the information. So you don't have to worry about, XMLs. And another advantage of this particular workflow that we build with the API is that you can go back and forth and you never lose your work. Okay, so you see, okay, what I did now is I just brought it in, and the first thing, by the way, it asked me is this kind of camera profiles. Maybe now it's the moment really to explain, this camera profiles, because this is one thing that if you don't select here the right profile, the matching is going to have a really hard time. Okay, because we have to basically Colourlab AI is color managed, and we will try to recognize your media, right? But if we can't, you have to tell it what it is. Okay, so that's a really kind of important thing to know. So look, if you're not sure what it is, and it happens a lot, like you have some material, you don't have a clue what camera it is, right? So what you do then is you basically make these thumbnails bigger so that you can see your image, all right? And then what you can do is you can just say, okay, let me now, see which one would work for it, right? And then you click on this list, all right? And then you start. I would always start, if it doesn't look like log or something like that, I would always start with, let's say, an sRGB, right? So that basically means like most of your still photos, stuff like this is all going to be an sRGB. So maybe you start with that, but obviously looks flat to us, so that's not the right thing to do. You can also go and say, well, like I actually want to have a Rec 709. This is, like for most cameras that don't shoot log, this is going to be the right choice. So if you have some GoPro material, Canon 5D, anything that doesn't shoot in any kind of crazy log profiles works with this 709. Okay, but if you have a camera like I do, that shot things log, then you should try. Oh, is it Panasonic? Is it Sony? Is it Canon? Is it whatever? And then slowly, you will kind of see, oh, this one works better than the other, and then you'll find. So don't start color matching until you haven't finished this process properly, right? This is just, I know that it feels like an extra step to do, but this step is really important. If you don't do the IDT matching, the camera profiles well, the matching can't really do much, because it's not made to match logarithmic footage to something completely different. It can't do it. Okay, all right. So now I got that working. If you kind of now find yourself on a timeline and you go like, I'm not sure what's happening. Is this file right IDT or not right IDT or whatever? You can always go here in the end and you say shot settings, and there you can always change your profile. And you can say, oh, I think I made a mistake here. Maybe it's an icon profile. Oh, whatever, you know. So you can always go and change it. It's not like nobody's like, telling, oh, you have to set it at the beginning. You have always ability to go change and adjust, all right? And another important thing about these camera profiles, by the way, is following. You can also set it up so it uses the settings that you want, okay? So basically what you do is you go here to this tab which says default IDD profiles, right? And then for any type of, camera or phone or material, you select what you want. So if we, for example, recognize that you have a footage from Canon, okay, and you always shoot in particular Canon setting, then you say, okay, I have Canon, and I want Canon to use, let's say, Canon log 2709. Maybe that's the way how I like to work with Canon, right? So basically, you help yourself, if there's a certain type of cameras you use, and just set it up here in the defaults, right? There is also, by the way, ability to create the whole camera sets. I won't go into this now because, this is going to be like a separate training why you want to use camera sets and stuff like this. But in any case, you can also do that, right? So just really wanted to cover this part here. All right. The second then thing that everybody kind of, finds it like a difficult is like, okay, so how do I start now? Where do I start matching? Okay. So what you do is before you start anything, what I recommend you do is you just use this auto color setting here, right? Auto color, just leave it with no show look to begin with. And all you need to do is you need to hit this teal button. This is your best friend, this kind of, like this button is what you need, all right? So what you do is you just basically park on any clip and you press the teal button and it does the job. This is really like, how the neutral grade works, right? And what happens if you apply this to every clip, no matter what your material is, it's all going to normalize itself, right? And it's going to normalize itself by moving the controls. Not really by doing anything crazy, but like literally just what normally a colorist would do when it's grading. You do like a first pass. You just want to balance everything out before you start giving it a look. You kind of want to bring things to just feel like, okay, because of course things are shot in different locations, different camera types, different times of day and so on. And you just really want to kind of, make it all work, right? And you just give it a balance. Now, for example, I go and press on this shot here, auto balance, and it looks relatively okay. It does look better than what it did. But this is not everything. What you should do if you want to go even a step further in balancing things, you should assist the balancing, you should assist the engine by telling engine, hey, this is area of interest that this is what, we always say like every shot has got some sort of focal point, something that happens. So most of the times this is an actor's face, a person, right? Whatever, you might be shooting car commercials. So there is a part of the car that is that kind of hero part of the shot. And you want to just really assist engine with that. So for example, you see, like there is a here an astronaut on the hill. So certainly this looks beautiful because we exposed it so that everything fits inside, even the sky and everything looks okay. But if you are to say to engine, hey, I want to focus on this astronaut because that's really what I want audience to see. Like that's what audience should be noticing, not the sky and the hills. But what you do is then you click here onto this target here, right? And then your mouse changes. It looks now like a cross. And then you just draw like a cross, like a little, like just an outline around the area that's interesting. And what happens, look at it now. Now, straight away, the engine, the engine adjusted the exposure and balance for that particular part of the shot. And look how much better it looks now because we start seeing a little bit, detail in the clouds and everything like that. Okay, that's the first pass you do. So normally what I do is I just basically go like this and I just go and press, auto color and I say, okay, I like it, If I feel like that maybe things haven't quite, like a gelled or something like that, what I do is then I use the cross. So I say, okay, this one looks good to me as well, right? I don't have to do anything here. This one looks very good as well. But if I was to say, let me just make sure that I'm basically going to have, focus on this part, I would go and select this. And I'd say, well, it doesn't really work, because it's a silhouette shot, okay? So what we want is we want to bring this shot down on exposure, right? So what we're going to do now is we're going to click on this button here, and this is basically showing us stops of exposure. Have a look. So if I now go also click here on my scopes to the Ed Lachman Zones, okay? So what I did now, you see gray is showing me where the focal point is, where the zero is, yeah, where the zero exposure sits. And now I corrected it like that, right? But let's say I want to push it back a little bit. I want to just, reduce the exposure. What you do is you just click on this button and you select here, let's say, oh, I want it one stop less. And look how now suddenly the shot works, right? Actually, let me just remove, my camera so that you can see the Ed Lachman zone as well. So you see how Ed Lachman zone is now showing you light green, which means, hey, I am now half a stop to -1 stop down, but this is exactly what we want, in this particular case. All right? So then you go further. Now, there is going to be a shot, for example, like this shot here. All right? And one thing you're going to notice about this shot is that it's very dark. So look at my levels here. My levels are, below 50. Okay? So what it means is that, this is a dark shot. It's in the forest, right? But, that's not really, system doesn't know, oh, don't worry about this shot, it's a dark shot, it's a shot in the forest. So when you press auto color, what's going to do, it's going to try to balance it, to neutralize it like everything else. So you see, it has lifted its exposure to kind of bring everything to a normal level, okay? However, is this better for me? No, it's not. Really, that's not really how I want this shot to be. Now it's the time to call versions, okay? And you do that by double-clicking on the clip like this or just pressing Enter on your keyboard. Okay, match models. This is basically, think about it like this. Match models, every time you do a match models calculate different options of how you can match. By default, we say, oh, let's do everything, just match it, so that it kind of looks like that. But match models, for example, allow you to look at the shot and match it maybe from an alternative perspective. So what could these alternative perspectives be? So you have several options here, right? So you have one, which is called Smart. And the Smart is going to kind of basically try to produce a look with the least amount of effort, right? So basically it's going to say, hey, I don't want to really stretch this. If something's too dark, my Smart is going to say, no, you should stay around here. Then you have a dailies mode. Dailies mode is not moving away too much as well from the original. This is why these look good, because we don't want them to move from original. Then we have my two favorites definitely are finals. You see what finals does, it blended the color beautifully with everything else, but it kept the luminance at the original level. I really like that one. And theatrical is basically going and cleaning up your blacks. The reason why we call it theatrical is in cinema, when we grade for cinema, we are very, very precise with blacks because, the smallest change of shadows in the theater has got a great perception on viewers because you sit in a dark room on a big screen. So if your blacks are not perfect, right, your image constantly fluctuates. So the theatrical really is giving you that. It's just going to go and say, hey, I'm totally just trying to basically give you the cleanest shadow I can, for example. So, and then you have a balance only, and a balance only is going to use just lift gamma gain without any color adjusted to it. RGB is I call it a German mode. It's trying to really make things as neutral as possible. Works for some type of shots, of course, because you need different views. If you're, using cameras or something like that, the easiest way to understand these models is on every camera that's got, let's say, autofocus, right? You have different modes of autofocus. Well, not if you're using Blackmagic camera like I do, because that autofocus is actually, you know, non-existent, I'd say. But let's say you're using some Sony camera or Canon camera, right? And they have this amazing, you know, facial tracking autofocus features. But you still have several programs and modes, and some of them work better or worse. So this is exactly the same thing. And this is the main differentiation between Colourlab AI and any other software out there that is promising to do matching using AI and this and that, because none of them is really allowing you to you know, look at the shot in alternative matching way. And this is very important part of the whole process, because, you know, you really want to decide, hey, am I really balancing everything to look the same, or am I allowing my shots to preserve some of their own identity? And that's really what color grading is about, and that's why it's not an automated process. It's about you as an artist are deciding what would be the best look. So don't, you know, approach this whole process just as a, oh, I'm going to press button and everything's going to be done for me. No, enjoy the process of creation, because you're now creating the look. You're deciding what look needs to be, not the machine. And only thing that machine does for you is moves the dial, so you don't have to, right? And that's kind of, you don't have to learn how to operate crazily this lift gamma gain and what to do with it. It's clunky, it's difficult, especially if you don't have controllers and stuff like this, you know. So, you know, you might just as well click and decide which is the look that you want, okay? So it's very, very, very good like that. All right, so this is to me like I would say the, you know, kind of the two, if you kind of approach matching like this, and you basically decide, okay, you know, my matching is like gonna work like a, you know, I'm trying to actually, you know, like just try to find, you know, the best auto match, and you start with auto color, you're guaranteed going to get to a very good result. There is no doubt. I have never had a situation where I wasn't able to match and grade anything that I was grading, just using this method. So here, for example, maybe dailies looks best to me, you know, or smart. Smart's not too bad as well, but let me stick to dailies. All right, cool. Okay, now the easiest way, when you did this kind of, you know, approach and you matched everything and you balanced everything, the easiest way for you now to give this whole project an identity, some sort of look, right? You know, some character, is to apply one of the show looks, okay? And the reason why I call them show looks is because you apply them now across everything, because that's what show looks does. It's going to take your production, your whole timeline, and it's going to wrap it into like a, its common kind of wrapper, its own look, so that, you know, everything looks like, oh, this is part of the same show, right? So what you do is then you go through one of these categories, okay? And you basically click and you try to find the one that really works for you. And that's really sometimes, guys, you know, like, you know, it is, you know, a little bit trial and error. You will then remember those that look really good for you, right? And when you do, you just click here on heart and you say, oh, I really like this one, okay? What you can also do is you can say, let me save this look. So you come here to plus. Look, there is a plus here. Say, I like this look, but I'm not sure if maybe Stefan look is better. And then you click again on plus. Now check this out. You go here to versions, where the scopes are. Let me go and switch off my camera again so that you can actually see what I'm doing, right? So what you do is you click on versions, and now you have those versions. So look, I have here Stefan, I have here Laster, and I can quickly then switch between the two, right? And choose, oh, which one is the one that I like, right? And that's also part of the creating development process, right? You want to, you know, quickly inquire, is this maybe look better, maybe this one, and be able to quickly go back and forth. And this is why the versions are for, right? So just to repeat one more time, it's plus here, and then versions here is where you can see them, what they are. Okay, now I say, this is really the version that I want, okay? Now, very easy now to distribute this look across everything. Let me show you. So what you do is you basically say, you know, copy, let's say you say, you know, which is a Command C, right? And then you right mouse click and you go and say, paste show look to all shots, okay? So what it's going to do, it's going to go and distribute this show look. But because you balanced things already, because you have created a technical pass, and because the way how we build these profiles and these show looks, everything's just gonna fall into place, right? So look how that look has given that character and is still preserving and matching everything. You see how it beautifully basically applied itself across the whole timeline, right? You see? And it's just given that timeline, you know, kind of an overall look and feel that it goes like, oh, actually, you know what? This is all part of the same. I equalized it. I applied the look. Everything looks like, you know, now it's part of the same show, right? You know, in a very, very short time, as you can see, right? And you can then also come and change it. You say, well, you know what? I'm not sure. Let me just actually try how the luster would work here. Like, you know, so what you do is you say, okay, give me like, you know, for maybe, you know, maybe give me a Stefan here. Oh my God, this one works better. Hey, let me just quickly try. How would Stefan look if I was to apply it to everything? And you say, apply paste show look to all shots, right? And then boom, you do it again. And now you go like, and you say, oh man, you know what? This one is better. You know, this one's really working better. So you can like, and don't be afraid, you know, you always have a history. You can always go back and forth, you know, with your versions, and you can decide which one, you know, looks better for you. It's very easy to combine looks, you know, change them and so on. So, you know, that is really where the creativity comes from. That's what you should never automate. That's something that you should enjoy doing, really. Okay? All right. So now we got this going. Let's go and push it, you know, to Premiere. All right? And that's the best part of this whole workflow is all you do now, you come here to this button, says push to Premiere, you click on this, right? And no rendering. Nothing really needs to happen. Nothing needs to, you don't have to, you know, worry about the rendering, exporting, doing stuff. Not at all. We're going to calculate everything that you created. We're going to go, and this extension you left open is going to receive all of that information, and it's going to apply on every clip a new plugin, right? And this plugin is called Colourlab AI, okay? It's here. Look, it's Colourlab AI plugin. And this plugin is going to give your footage the look. Okay, and it's using the same advanced image processing engine that you find in Baselight, in DaVinci, and all the other ColorFront, whatever, all the big systems. And you have that same quality of image processing as a real-time plugin that you can just press play and off you go. Now, it comes to a situation that you say, well, you know what? I don't want to, this looks too dark. Now, when I moved it, it looks a little too dark. Let me go and fix this. All right? No problem. What you do is you go back to your Colourlab AI and you say, hey, this look, you know, we need to open it. We need to make it a little brighter. All right? So instead of you moving all these dials again, what you do again, you just click again onto the enter, onto options, right? And don't use match models. But look, you can just click now here, for example, on exposure. And you can say, is the exposure that I want? Yes, this is exactly. I want it just a little bit like this. Oh, no, a little bit like this. You can see what it is. Like you know. And then you right mouse click only on that clip. And then you say, push to Premiere only a shot. Right? So what you do is you just push this. Okay? And now, oh, it wants me to save it. Don't save it, don't worry. And now it pushed it. And you see, bang, it updated it here. And now you have exactly that same look like that. All right? Now, another advantage of working with API instead of like, you know, anything like, this kind of XML and all of this stuff is like, for example, I can just take a clip, you know, any clip, add it to my timeline because my timeline now is evolving, right? And I can then go back to Colourlab AI and I can say to Colourlab AI, hey, you know, can you please fetch from Premiere because I changed my timeline, I edited it. And so you should, because one thing that always happens is that color grading is not like a linear process. You kind of edit and then you color grade. I mean, in an ideal world, we would work like that. But, you know, who lives in an ideal world? The reality is that, you know, you start with timeline, you want to grade it a little bit, then that timeline gets re-edited, then you want to regrade everything that hasn't been graded. You want to go and be able to go back and forth, not worry that you have to really get this edit approved before you start grading. It doesn't matter. You grade as you go along. You just move, right? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to click here on merge. Right, it's going to say, hey, there is a, guys, we can recognize, that this timeline has already been matched. What you want to do with it? And it's going to say, hey, I want to merge it. It recognizes that this is a shot from Sony automatically, and there we'll go. But look how beautiful it is. All of the color that you've worked on it already has been saved, has been recognized, and now you start working from where you stopped effectively. You don't you don't have to start from zero again. Oh, what was that shot? What did I grade? No, you basically now just have this shot that hasn't been graded. You can apply a little auto color onto that, and basically, you can continue moving and grading, stuff like that. Okay. I had to use my fancy, trailers a little bit. Let me see a little bit chat what's going on. Daniel has not sure if question has already been asked with Final Cut Pro. It doesn't seem to be possible to continue grading in Resolve, for example, to work with Windows. Will this be possible in Colourlab? Okay, Daniel. So we are going to, basically create a link between, let's say you start in Final Cut, you move to Colourlab, and then you move to Resolve. We are going to enable that. We are going to start with the first beta approximately next week, and then we're going to start tweaking and doing this. But so at the moment you have to work between your application and Colourlab. Maybe you don't want to go to Resolve, maybe you want to finish everything in Final Cut. So this is also an option for you to do. So we are definitely this is how we intended the application to be used right now. Okay, Justin Allen says, any chance of enabling the Blackmagic mini panel inside? Yes. And they don't want to do it. They basically said, we can't really do this. We don't want to do this for you guys. And so that's a problem. So the panel that we support is tangent. You just plug the tangent. You don't have to do anything, and it's going to appear. And we are working actually on a brand new controllers, that we really love. I can't spill the beans too much at the moment, but there is going to be an alternative that is actually really exciting. I find, it's not a Blackmagic mini panel, it's just an alternative to that, which is actually really, really good, Then Nikhil has a question. What happens if you have a LUTs in your pipeline? All this coming after the end. Sorry, I missed the start of it. Nikhil, now look, let me just show you. If it happens that you have your own lookup tables, right? So let me just go and show you. So if it happens that you have your own lookup tables that you want to use in production, you say, hey, I have a LUT already that I want to use, and I want Colourlab just to help me match, and I'm going to apply LUT I have. It's very easy to do that. What you do is you go here where the little wheel is, okay? You click on that. Oh, this is rename section, sorry. No, you go here to plus. And then you say import LUTs. Okay, you click on that. All right, so then when you do that, it's going to tell you, okay, what LUT do you want to import? I don't know, maybe I want to import, this is not LUTs. So let's see, maybe I have a summary. Oh, there we go. Look, a show LUT cube file. All right, so let's say I want to import that LUT. You just say open, right? And then you have to tell Colourlab what kind of LUT this is. All right, so for example, this LUT is made for ARRI, okay, so ARRI log C, and this LUT is outputting to Rec 709, all right, and then you say import show looks, right? So then what we do is we convert this show LUT to our own EXO1 format, right? And then basically what you're going to have is you're going to be able to, do it. And you see this is your basically, show LUT that you just imported. It gets this generic image, but you can also change this image. You can, you know, use some current frame, you can select the file, you can give it tags, notes. We really kind of want you to see Colourlab as a great place to organize your looks, your LUTs, and have a, you know, great library of them, really. So what I can do now is I can just go and apply this look. And I just click on it, and there we go. My show LUT has been applied. Now notice something, right, which is very important. This particular show LUT was originally made for Arri camera, and I applied it here on Sony camera, and it works. And that's the advantage of this whole color management engine that we have inside Colourlab, which basically helps you a lot with those things that you guys don't have to, like, you know, like have a LUT per camera. There is a look, and we'll take care that it works for every camera and any display. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to say, hey, you know, like this is, I just want to kind of make sure that my face sits on 0, okay? And there we go. I got this shot nicely balanced. You see? So very, very easy to do that. Okay, let me go and check and see what's happening else in the chat. Hey, we have someone from Serbia. Good to see you, Alexander. Very good, very good. Come on, keep pushing. Serbia has to go. The future's waiting. All right, Deep Music says, I render a DCP file from DaVinci Resolve in Rec. 9, but my DCP contrast looks gray and low contrast in theaters. What is the issue? So your issue is that when you're making the DCP, you don't convert to from 709. What you have to do is you have to convert this 709 inside your DCP creation software to be P3 D60. This is basically specific color space used for DCPs, and it has a gamma of 2.6. So whoever, I don't know whether you make these DCPs yourself or you have somebody do it, but you know, this is your problem 9 out of 10 times, right? Okay, David says, when pushing from Colourlab to Resolve, what exact color transform is done in IDT and ODT node? Okay, let me go and maybe show you that. So now I'm going to go and show you the Resolve workflow, okay? Let me do that. So I'm just going to go quickly close the Premiere, and then we're going to go and start working with the Resolve. Do you want to save changes? Okay, I want to save changes. That's okay. All right, cool. All right, so let me open. By the way, it works both, you know, Resolve 17 and Resolve 18. They both work. I still use in production environment 17 simply because it's a little bit more reliable and more stable. Okay. Okay, so 1 second, I need to just open a project. And actually, I'm going to use this project as a great example to show you how you can go deeper camera matching as well. So here we go. So now we got Resolve open. I want to just switch my controller here so that I can get this going. Alrighty. And now let me just also bring my camera as well so that you can see me. Perfect. All right. So let's start. So what I do is this, you know, I basically go and create a node tree first. I like to work with a fixed node tree in Resolve, okay? It helps me. There is a whole theory around it, you know, and it's absolutely, you know, if you're looking to accelerate your workflow, number one thing you should do is develop a fixed node tree structure that you like, okay? And then what I do in this node tree structure, I dedicate one node for the IDT, one node for the CDL, one node for the show LUT, and I really recommend you do these 3 nodes one after another. And then what you do is you dedicate at the end 1 node for the ODT. Okay, so let me explain you what these nodes are doing. IDT node is going to convert from whatever your camera is to our internal color space, which is Arri log C. CDL node is going to make these main adjustments, grading adjustments. Okay, show LUT node is going to apply the show look, but this is still going to stay in Arri log C. So the show look is basically going from log C to log C. Okay, and ODT is going to give you output for your display. So let's say if your display is 709, ODT is going to convert from log C to 709. So basically it's a full color managed pipeline, advanced color managed pipeline, but using node structure. Okay. All right, so let me show you this. So now that I created this node tree, what you do is I have it here in Power Grades, and you right mouse click on it, and you say export my node tree. Okay, and I'm just gonna go and put it onto my desktop. Let's call it fixed advanced. Okay, and I'll use a JPEG. I don't want to like have a DPX. Okay, so now fail to export. Okay, there's something going on. Never mind. Okay, so what I did now is I exported this DRX. Okay, then you go back into Colourlab. Let me start a new project. Okay, don't want to save this. All right, so there is a couple of things. So first of all, you have to make sure that you have this fetch from Resolve open, okay? And then you go here into project settings, okay? Now, there is a very important thing. You should always make sure that you're in advanced because, you know, by default you are, just in case. And then you have a tab which is called DaVinci Resolve Sync, all right? What you do is here, you first import this fixed node tree. So what you do is you can say default, or you can say, no, listen, I actually want to import my own. So you click on this little arrow here, and then that particular node tree that I just exported on the desktop, and what was it called? Fixed DRX. That's the one, fixed node tree DRX, okay? What you do is you want to just open that one, all right? So I have to now, I got my set tangled here, but basically it got it now here. Look, so it's a fixed DRX node tree. All right. The next thing you need to do is you need to tell it which is your IDT node, which is your CDL node, which is your LUT node, and which is your ODT node. But because I named my nodes already, it picked it for me. It recognized that this is exactly the nodes that I need to know. It needs to know where these 4 nodes are going to happen. Okay, there is also another option here, you know, send all versions when pushing to DaVinci Resolve. Let me tell you what that is. This is like basically, you know, like the versions, the grading versions, you know how they have, we have 8 versions, theatrical, this and that. If you click on this, then you're going to get versions in DaVinci. So every grade is going to have 8 options, right? So this is kind of useful if you want to, like, you know, just be able to audition later stuff. But I don't like it. I leave it off because it just makes everything like so big, you know? All right. So then what you do is you close that. All right. So then we go and say, hey, you know, did I now just, you know, yeah, I want to fetch from Resolve, and it's going to read the timeline and it's going to bring it in. And instantly it recognized correctly that I have a Sony camera, a Red camera, and then it says D camera thinks it's ARRI, but it's not. It's actually Panasonic. All right? And then it has an ARRI camera. So I'm just going to say done. Okay. So straight away I have 4 different cameras. Okay, and these 4 different cameras, you know, are better balanced. Let's say they brought in to look closer. So what you want to do now is, especially if you have a chart like this, what you can do, and this is like super cool for DITs, you know, for, you know, like anybody who basically wants to develop, like, you know, some technical transform that is just going to go and match camera much closer. What you do is you shoot a chart. Then what you do is you select this like a target again, and you highlight the fourth like a patch on black and white. So this is white. So you count 1, 2, 3, 4. Number 4, this one. And you just basically highlight it. And second, I just need to go like this, switch it on, and you just do this. Now, the moment you highlight that, what you do effectively is you neutralize your grading. Right? So your camera, you see this camera is like a kind of little bit like, you know, different color. Of course, it's red, has a little different color. So what you do, you just highlight that, and you see now how they are exactly on the same level of exposure. So, you know, this is normally how we balance cameras, but what happens here is just, you know, system does it for you at the speed of light almost. Like, you know, you go like, okay, I just click on it and it already balanced it for me. And I show you actually where it happens, where this balancing happens. Because you're not going to see it on your LiveGam again. Nothing happens here. But if you move here to printer lights, look, it's in printer lights, and it basically balanced it there so that kind of the exposure is exactly the same. All right? So now I got basically first step, I equalized and balanced exposure on all of them. And that's a starting point. You can't expect that you're going to ever match colors unless you match the exposure first. You know, this is basically, you know, rule number 1 of matching is like, okay, let's get these things to be, you know, similarly exposed, right? Okay, then you say, all right, I want now this shot to be my hero. Okay, so you go and you click on a little fingerprint, record fingerprint, right? So what we did now is we recorded the fingerprint for it. We made this shot be the reference. Okay, and then you go and you click on your next shot, and now you use this reference and you say, hey, match it, just match it, okay? And then you go here and you go and say, hey, you want to just match it, boom, and you just basically do that. And you want to come to this one, you say, hey, please just match it. And now suddenly, look how close they are. Look how similar they look. I mean, look at these guys. This is what this shot, what red looked like, just, with kind of, the standard Rex and a 9. Look at the Alexa, how Alexa now matches perfectly with this Hero Sony camera. Okay? Just check, for example, look at this here. You look at the cloth. You see how it balanced this perfectly, so it kind of gets the same, that kind of little bit greenish tonality. Okay? So now you got this balanced. What you do is you can just go and say, hey, I want to now push this to resolve, okay? And you just press that. I don't want to save it, okay? And now it's going to go and push it to resolve, okay? Hey, finished. I've done it. Continue, okay? Then you go to resolve and check this out. You got a full node tree on every shot, right? And everything's matched. So this is your log C to 709. This is your actual matching, happened here in your kind of, primary, right? This is your transform for input, because this is Ari Alexa, doesn't do anything, and so on and so on and so on. And I don't have any show LUTs, so nothing's really applied here, okay? This is an awesome way. Let's say you're, daily colorist, or I could have 1 million, uses for this, but like most common one is like, hey, why we really build this, right? Was like, okay, I'm a kind of daily colorist and I need to go and match my shots and I have different cameras. You can just go and just, neutralize them. As long as you have chart, we're going to be able to recognize the chart and make a really, really, really amazing match for you, okay? Okay. So my fancy transitions. Let me go and see what's happening in the chat. So Arilog C, thank you. No problem, David. And then, will it be possible to have a node for Look Designer from Colourlab to Resolve? David, we have asked for it 2 years ago, and I believe that the strategy that Resolve has taken is that they want you to kind of do all the editing and all the kind of grading inside Resolve, and that basically because of that they're not necessarily opening their application as much as other people do, like Final Cut or Premiere. They really feel like, okay, we want to collaborate with all the other applications and plugin makers and everything like that, and they're much more open. Where Resolve is like, trying to say, well, you know what, we want to give you everything so you never have to leave, So this is the reason why we can't control the plugin at the moment. Now, our new, CTO has told us that there is a way how to do it, but I think we're going to have to wait until version 3. There is a workaround, but I said right now we're hoping that there will be official API from DaVinci, which hasn't come. So that's why you can't work this really elegantly with a plugin. On the other side, there's nothing really wrong by having nodes like this and working like this. To be honest, it's actually really, a useful. It adopts really well with the way how DaVinci works. So, I find that it doesn't really limit me in any way, just because I don't have a plugin itself. And I can always replace, some of these nodes with plugin myself manually. So it's not like, I don't find it that it's kind of tragic that this doesn't work. It's pretty good. Now, Matthias is asking a question. Matthias is asking a question. Can I send my entire day of stills plus look from live grade to Colourlab at once and also go back with it at once? Okay, so the way how you're basically working with live grade is that we can, listen, this is my thing. I'm gonna do a live grade training session just for that, and I'm gonna show you exactly how to do it. this would be my suggestion. This is how we should move on, because this is very specific, and I have quite a few other things planned for today, so I won't be able to show you this. But it's a great question, and already next time I do AMA, I'm going to cover this for you. No problem. Okay. So Vasya asked a question: when Colourlab AI and Look Designer will be available for Windows? Vasya, it's been already 2 hours since somebody asked me that question. I get asked that question every few hours. It used to be every day. Now it's every few hours. So listen, it's coming. It's coming. Of course, we are working on it right now. Every morning I get up, I look through the GitHub, what team's doing, how it is evolving. We are writing an amazing Windows version, okay? But you have to know something. This is like building a software is like, renovating your house or building a website, whatever you do it. There is always things take longer than, what you thought they're gonna take. So I believe, we plan this, to have a first beta before, September, October, and then, like the way how things work takes few months after that. So don't hold me for it. We're working as fast as possible. But I really want to, give it to you guys by hopefully end of the year, early next year, that we have not just a Windows version, but also several new features that we have in our laboratory, that are just amazing new stuff that's going to accelerate things. But we just want to, make a Windows version so that when we make these new features, they work on both platforms at the same time. So that's the idea. Okay. Heinz asked a question. Look Designer 2.4 has a few bugs. I can make it crash on a repeated basis. Can we send crash report somewhere? Absolutely. Heinz, you should always email help@colourlab.ai, and we will respond to it within 24 hours. Now, you should use, if you are on Mac, you should use Look Designer 2.5. We fixed those bugs in 2.4, so that's definitely happening. So if you're on Mac, must use 2.5 because it's not crashing at all. And then for Windows, we are rewriting the engine to be compatible with the new CUDA that is now used inside Resolve 18. So, update is coming soon as well. But it's not just a kind of update, hey, I need to fix a bug. It means like, hey, well, we need to rewrite the engine to run on a new CUDA. So we are working on that. Probably in 2 weeks or so, there's going to be a fix for that, okay? But anytime you have any issues or anything like that, help@Colourlab AI. And if you don't get an answer, right, just email me, dado@colourlab.ai, because, we definitely, pride ourselves that we answer all questions. There is an awesome guy called Marcello working for us who's basically super responsive, and we want you guys to feel like, hey, there is somebody who's going to respond. And as I said, go straight to me. If you don't get the response, email me. I'll be able to see how I can help. All right? Okay. So you're 2.4 Mac. Heinz, you must update. You must update. Please go to log into the website, log where your licenses are, and you'll see there's a 2.5 update there. Download it. It will never crash again. You won't ever, ever, ever have a crash. We fixed the problem, so this is all good. I remember what it was. Okay, Juan Solana says, if we use an iPad Pro M1 as a reference screen on the sidecar function on Mac with DaVinci and Look Designer, how can we set up display color preferences? Very good question. There we go, guys. I love it. I love it. Let's go for that. Why not? Let me show you. All right, let me show you. So here we go. Have a look. We worked on it. So you go to Colourlab, right? You select preferences, all right? In preferences, what you do is you can then say following, color, okay? And then it's asking you, select your display color space, okay? I have been doing something with Final Cut earlier. So when you work with Final Cut, there is a specific setting just for Final Cut, okay? Otherwise, this is your options. If you are using a monitor that is not MacBook Pro, not the monitor that you are mentioning right now, Juan, you would select sRGB, sRGB. However, for your iPad Pro, you need to select P3D65 and sRGB. That is your setting because your iPad is capable of working in P3D65. And then the image on your desktop is going to look accurate, okay? And another thing that I want to recommend you do, if you want to, this is another option. You go to video output, and here we have something called NDI output, okay? You enable that, and then you download an NDI application. It's called NDI Monitor or something like that, right, for iPad, and you will then recognize your Colourlab AI output, and you can be wireless with actual picture, you know, like it's almost like, you know, SDI out, the output out on your iPad, so you can walk around the set or whatever, you know, like, hey, you know, you don't have to like be tethered to your computer with it. So that's a really good option. Like I basically use this, you know, when I'm on set and I just want to basically quickly take an iPad and just show it to cinematographer and say, hey, how'd you like this? And they basically, you know, get the picture through NDI from Colourlab AI. Super, super useful feature, by the way. So try to, you know, utilize that, Juan. It might really help you. Okay, so Justin says a question. I had to step away. Sorry, reposting below question. If you answered already, I'll go back and find it. Justin, on green screen work, I wrote out the green screen in Resolve, and what's left is what I want to correct. When I'm importing, I end up with the green screen background showing, which impacts the process. I understand. Yes, you will end up with that. I totally understand that. And that's, you know, we don't really support alpha. You know, I mean, yes, of course, because when you try to match, you know, things will basically, you know, it's going to take the grain into account and it's going to try to match it. And that's a real problem. You know, what I can tell you, Justin, you do is you use this exposure tool as much as possible, right? So you basically, when you highlight something, you tell Colourlab AI, hey, this is the area I'm interested in, only worry about this area. And you know what? You know, this is a really interesting scenario. Let me think, you know, about it and see how best, you know, we could do this. And see whether we could improve, you know, somehow way to ignore the green effectively, isn't it? Yeah, I hear you. That would be an amazing feature. We don't have it, but such a great idea. Let me think about it and see how we could do this. Okay? Thanks, Justin, for this question. All right. So, guys, I have to show you one more thing, which is actually, I have just enough time to show you one more quick thing, and this is how to work with Final Cut Pro. Desktop, sorry. I'm back. All right, so let me just close this here. I'm gonna close DaVinci. Okay, I'll start a new project in Colourlab. Okay, and now I'm gonna go and open Final Cut. I kind of find really this Final Cut integration to be so elegant, actually. Out of all of those things, you know, I find it to be super, super elegant. Okay, look, so there's, again, when you install Colourlab, everything's installed for you. You don't have to worry about anything like, you know, extensions, We did it all for you, okay? Now look, you just get to your project and you click on your project and you just drag it and you drop it on top of Colourlab, okay? And what happens then, the Colourlab says, hey, I got some new media. What's this media? Like, you know the drill. You basically tell it, hey, this is all Panasonic, right? And then you say, okay, I'm done. This is my timeline has just come across, okay? So you can then basically do all of that matching like I showed you, you know, like everything like that. But maybe I want to show you while I'm doing here, what is a SmartLUT, okay? So let me show you this. So you go into AI references. So not show looks that we've been using so far, right? You know, none of these. No, you have to click on the next one, AI references, okay? And then it's a little bit hidden here, but you'll find it. It's kind of here, it says SmartLUTs, okay? This is the next generation of LUTs, okay? These LUTs are not just, you know, show looks. They also contain a fingerprints, and these fingerprints allow you to, you know, use your source to match things. So it's not just applying a look blindly, it's actually looking at the source and matching source to, you know, look like the output it's supposed to look. Think about it like that, okay? So what you do is this. You basically, let's say this shot, and then you select, let's say, this particular SmartLUT. And by the way, this is super cool here. Like you can just click on, you can also click 1, 2, 3 on your keyboard. This is the shortcuts. 1, 2 is split screen, 3 is side by side, right? I like side by side. And then what you do is you just go and you again click on the teal button. And you see how now you're actually not just, you know, applying a show, that you're actually matching things a little bit. So look, I can just click like on this one, and I can then click on this one, right? And now it says, oh, I got the brightness a little bit higher for you, then you're gonna go and reduce the brightness, right? If you want. Okay, there is a new one which came through, which is called Neutral D65. We're using that one, you know, when we really just wanna, you know, make sure that our camera you know, is giving me like a neutral value. So you see, like what you want to do really, you want to kind of try to find, you know, one of these SmartLUTs that is going to give you the look that you kind of, you know, you want to go for. Maybe you want to go for something apocalyptic like this, you know, you say, well, you know, maybe, you know, how about this look? Or maybe, you know what, not as crazy as that. This one's good, theatrical, right? And you say, okay, this is now the look. I want it to feel like, hey, they're on some, you know, planet, you know, where God knows what's happening, right? Now what you can do is you can then make this shot be your reference, okay? And then you can then apply this reference to the other shots. You can then basically say, hey, go ahead and match these remaining shots so that they match to my new reference that I just created through a SmartLUT. And bang, everything kind of comes through, right? There we go. This guy needs to be corrected. So I'm just gonna go and highlight a little bit the face, and I'm gonna say, hey, bring it down, maybe a stop, you know what? Maybe even more than that, let's say 2 stops. Perfect. Now I got this to look perfectly matched, okay? All right? All right, so let's say I wanna now push this back to Final Cut, right? You just go here and you say push to Final Cut. I'm not gonna save it, and it's just gonna go and do it. And now it asks you, hey, which library do you wanna go to? I wanna go to this library, you know. We don't do a HDR at the moment. And then what happens is, look, you know, you basically get a new timeline with everything applied to it, just because there is a little plugin here called Colourlab AI that's been selected, and that's kind of the same drill like, you know, we did with Premiere. Okay, now there is one feature which is absolutely awesome. And this is something that, you know, I have to actually credit a gentleman called Knut. He's this kind of high-powered Final Cut user from Germany who basically explained to us what really his problem is. And if you were using Final Cut, then you will totally understand this. What also I can do, instead of just saying push to Final Cut, what I can do as well, I can right mouse click and I can say push to Final Cut, but I'm going to say push scene, okay? So I'm not like sending it there like the whole time, I'm pushing the actual scene. Now check this out now, what happens. This is very interesting, okay? Look at this. Now what you're going to get, you're actually going to get every clip graded. So what that means is that now you can use Colourlab AI at the beginning of your project. You apply looks on everything so that when you're editing, you already have a look on it. And then when you finish your timeline, you can then still send it back. We will recognize what you had. So, you know, you literally are able, you know, what they wanted to do is like a kind of, you know, there is this function, apply look to master clip and some other editing software or so on. You know, I want these clips to be graded before I start cutting them and putting them in. And I totally understand it. And now, guys, you have that feature. You can then basically just take this and start editing. And you see, you can just put it on the timeline. And this is all edited. This is already graded. You know, the grades are there. And if I was to send it back, then it will recognize all these settings and so on. So it's absolutely, you know, I think this is the best, you know, like being able to work like this back and forth is something we didn't have. And you know what? This is also great news for Final Cut users who've been complaining, hey, we don't have enough professional features. Well, now you have high-end image processing engine with full color management available to you in real time inside the Final Cut. You don't need to go very often to any other grading systems because you have an amazing image processing available to you inside Final Cut. And with Colourlab AI, you can totally go and control it, you know, match it and do stuff like that. So I really think this is just beautiful. Alrighty, let's see. Mark says that's fantastic. All right, Blaine says, can you explain output color space option on the top right of Colourlab window? It's set to default 709. Should I always stick with that? Very good question, Blaine. Let me actually explain you that, okay? So what that is following. So 709 is a default 709, and this is a 709 that is basically, you know, what we call like a, you know, SMPTE 709. You know, it's a standard 709, okay? However, we have other 709 options. And why? Because not everybody is thinking that 709 is 709, right? You know how they say, everybody has a slightly different idea to what that should look like. So for example, if you are to want to see how would this image look like if I was to put it into ACES, right? If I was, now we are not using ACES, but you want to just say, you know, ACES looks slightly different, isn't it? So you just say ACES 709, and then this, it shows you straight away this kind of sharp curve of ACES RRT, right? So you say, oh, I can now pre-visualize how this would look like if I was to grade it in ACES, right? You can also say, no, I want to have Rec 709 by ARRI. That is what ARRI built as their tonal mapping, where they said, when we actually want Alexa to look 709, this is how we think it should look. And it's slightly different than what SMPTE was doing. It has some secret sauce from ARRI there. So you should definitely do it. The CI is 709 by Color Intelligence. Now, this is kind of my approach where I don't limit the gamut. You see, this is the very strong, colorful, least amount of tonal mapping, because sometimes you just want to get the cleanest possible result. And you see, these little tweaks can be your friend, you know, like, you know, then you have a Rec 709 by DaVinci. You know, DaVinci has got a Resolve color management, you know, the RCM2. So when you're using that, that 709 is going to look slightly different as well. So there we go. You can match that. And then you also have this 709A. This is very specific 709 that is used only inside Final Cut, right? So basically, if you do this, then your renders are going to look exactly like renders of Final Cut. So basically, these are, you know, what these options are. You know, depending on your scenario, you should choose and see which one you want to work with, Blaine. That would be basically my answer to you. Okay, Luke says, hi Dado, I have 2 questions, a little bit out of context. I mean, AI is always based on data. Since Colourlab AI is based on AI, where do you get the data, reference data from? Look, very good question. So we have partnered with a company that, you know, is basically, you know, the biggest cinematography kind of database in the world. And what our data is, the training data, is effectively, you know, millions and millions of images from, you know, cinematic era, I would say, starting, you know, back in, like, you know, 70s, you know, 60s, you know, when the first color film appeared, you know, all the way to modern shows that have been released today. So our training is purely based on a cinematic sources. So none of that Google, you know, photos of animals, bicycles, like that people normally train this with. We train completely on cinematic data. That's it. And, you know, I don't want to tell you exactly, you know, who they are, but, you know, it's what makes the difference, look, you know. And then look, ask a question. And what's the future of Colourlab AI except the Windows version? So look, the future is such that we are going to, you know, try to simplify this whole workflow much more. Some of these things that I'm showing, like at the moment, like, you know, hey, you know, target and all of this, all of that we're going to want to automate. we are now working on a system that takes your feedback. Okay, so right now, if we were to make you a custom matching model, we would need to get about 5,000 graded images from you, which is a huge amount of effort that we can't ask from any of our users to do. But we have now discovered a way where we can train custom models with much less data. So expect that in the future we will be able to monitor what you grade and how you grade and be much more accurate to the looks that you are expecting machine to do, because we will understand what kind of choices and options you are taking. And basically, you know, we are just working on so that we can minimize the amount of that input data, that user data, in order for our engine to become more accurate, okay? And then there is also a thing that we're doing, which is, you know, the secondaries. Now they won't be like anything like secondaries that we use at the moment, where we have to highlight, do this or that. None of that. You know, the secondaries of the future are going to be very contextual. They will understand the content of the shot and what needs to happen. So, you know, that is really like, you know, what I, you know, want to bring in version 3, you know, like on top of, you know, all of these changes that are improving color management, okay? Yeah, no problem. Colourlab AI for Avid. Well, you know what? We have developed everything for Avid 2 years ago, okay? 2 years ago, we have developed everything, and we then went to Avid and we said, dear Avid, the only thing you need to do is you need to put in your ALE file ability to read what lookup table needs to be applied to what clip, because ALE already supports CDLs. And we said, just please add this, you know, column that you recognize. When this column says this is a lookup table, you apply that lookup table to the clip. And they said, amazing, love it, we're gonna do it. Let me put it on the production schedule. Well, you get the idea, right? Because nothing happened. I mean, we're still waiting for that production schedule. In the meantime, you know, the main guy who was working there, you know, he left. He was an amazing French, you know, color kind of scientist. You know, he was just, I don't know, he's not there anymore. But the good news is that a lady that I know personally, and she's absolutely awesome, she's now product manager for Avid. So maybe I'm going to reconnect and, you know, try to push that happen. I hear you. I hear you. New Frame says, hey, maybe it was mentioned before my update about Venice RAW support. Please, Sony. Please, Sony, let's agree on that codec, man. It's just terrible, right? My God, you know, I wish, you know, guys, I could help you with that whole Sony Venice support. You know, watch this space. You know, we're just, you know, like, you know, the whole licensing situation around this codecs is very complicated, because there is a patent by Red, and, you know, negotiating, you know, this kind of licensing deals for RAW files is just something that is unnecessary, complicated. Yeah, I really think, you know, that, you know, next month we should sit down again and try to resolve the situation with all RAW support for Venice. I hear you, and especially I have an amazing new IDT, by the way. If you ever, you know, want to try now transcoded media, which is what you can do, right? Just click here, and there is a new one which is called Sony Venice. Yeah. Try that one. It's absolutely wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. I was going to show it to you on my desktop as well. Sorry. Here we go. So you just click onto your camera profiles, you scroll down, and it's called Sony Venice. Okay? Okay, guys. So hope you like this, you know. Hope things are, it's good. You enjoy this. Yes, and yeah, I think these things are useful. I'm going to continue doing them. So thank you very much for tuning in and watching. You know, watch out. We're going to be releasing much more training now. You know, lots of things, and just keep your feedback and questions coming. I'm super happy to, you know, see you use and create amazing stuff, and I'm really looking forward to our next stream. Thank you again, and have a nice day.